Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative Headline News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, work is continuing on the University of the West Indies UWI Debe campus as the government moves to complete the facility as quickly as possible, says Minister of Tertiary Education Prakash Prasad. Asked whether the reopening of the campus remains on schedule, Prasad said Prime Minister Kamla Prasad will make that announcement at the appropriate time. That doesn't sound too promising, eh? By now, you're talking about we're already in these August holidays, you could say. So when the announcement will be made? The Prime Minister will make the announcement at that time, but at this point, the work is going on, Prasad told Guardian Media. Well, of course, you know, Guardian Media, they love to go and do their own investigations, and sometimes it's good that they do so. A drive along the M2 Ring Road showed a work crew and vehicles outside a compound with scaffolding erected on the exterior of a building at the periphery of the campus. However, significant foliage remains visible on the sporting grounds and surrounding areas when viewed from the Solomon Ho-Choi Highway. Well, maybe those are things that, just to be maintained afterwards to the people. That might be such a serious thing. Contacted yesterday for an update on the works, UWI Principal Professor Rosemary Bell Antoine said she had no further information to share at this time, but the institution would provide an update when it becomes available. Nobody knows anything. Wow. In March, Antoine said long-standing plumbing issues linked to shifting ground conditions were expected to be addressed through government-funded upgrade works. Initial estimates to resolve the problem were approximately $4 million. That ain't so bad, though. That ain't so bad. On the PNM, we might have 40 million. While temporary repairs had been carried out over the years, including during the COVID-19 period, when the campus was repurposed, contractors were expected to undertake additional infrastructural works. That should have been completed when PNM entered into office back in 2015. But, same thing. It's tit for tat. It's always a spite thing with these two parties. Just like how now UNC is spiting PNM and shutting down very important programs that were introduced by the PNM. It's sad. It's really sad to see what our country has become. But nevertheless, as I said on my other channel earlier on, UNC always performs much better than the PNM when it pertains to these things. I'm saddened, deeply hurt and saddened to see that the party has become very autocratic, just like the PNM, imposing SOEs in order to fight crime, and implementing different types of new fees and fines, doubling fees and fines, and new taxes like the landlord tax, and increasing duties and increasing the price of natural gas and so forth. It's sad because that was never the traditional type of style of governance for the UNC. But when it pertains to development of infrastructure and so forth, they will always outperform the PNM. That's just the reality. But is it enough to be able to win in 2030? I don't believe so. As I said on my other channel a little while ago, Trinidadians don't like to be abused. They will tolerate the abuse under the PNM, but not under the UNC, and therefore they will go back to their first abusive husband, no matter how much goodies you might give them otherwise. Kamla Prasad says, wake up and stop allowing people like Roger Alexander to influence you into trying to play this Robocop type of prime minister. You fighting crime using an SOE, extended SOE, which is infringing upon the rights of citizens in Trinidad and Tobago. Locking up people using PDOs, preventive detention orders, even though there's insufficient or no evidence in order to be able to charge them for any crime. Stop this nonsense, Prime Minister Kamla, and get back on track. Focus on developing our nation, recovering our economy. Meanwhile, UWI has already completed significant internal upgrades, including the installation of furniture, floor refurbishment, repainting of buildings, and major investments in information technology infrastructure. At a post-cabinet media briefing earlier this year, Minister of Land and Legal Affairs Saddam Hussein announced that the government would assume full responsibility for all repair works at the campus. He said Palo Seco Agricultural Enterprises Limited would carry out the rehabilitation works with the aim of allowing classes to begin at the South Campus at the start of the new academic year in September 2026. But the way it sounded as though work is still ongoing. And we are already in July, people. When? You really think that's going to be ready for September? Nah, I don't believe so. Unless some miracle happens. In April, Pasabi Sessa toured the campus as rehabilitation works commenced, saying the reopening of the facility would not only benefit students, but also stimulate economic activity and create jobs in the surrounding community. That is so true. That is true. Definitely. People with fast food, the outlets, the doubles man, and so forth, the pie man, the superman or the soup man or anything like that. You know, a lot of these people will also benefit as well. I hope it is ready for September. The way things going, the government, as I said, is performing better than the PNM, but they're not performing the way they used to in the past. Of course, there's limited funding and so forth. But also, because you are focused on the wrong thing, which is using the autocratic means to fight crime, you focus too much on that. You do not have the solution for crime. And that is the problem. You don't want to fix the TTPS. And that is one of the root causes. If you do not have a proper functioning police service, you cannot really successfully fight crime. And number two, you're not addressing gang culture as well. And it's not about going with brute force and that's destroying whole communities and whatsoever. You need to reopen. Madam Prime Minister have been saying this for months now. Open new community centers and reopen ones that have been abandoned by the PNM. The Mighty Morphin Ghanaian Coal Pot Bicycle, No Harm, No Macaroni Pie PNM, or was really utilized by the PNM. Reopen these community centers and introduce programs that can encourage the youth to stay off the streets and to leave gangs. And you need to have counseling sessions and different types of programs to get them involved in, not only just just in sports, but different types of extracurricular activities. Have counseling sessions for both the parents and the youths within these communities, so that you can encourage them gradually to get out of this type of ghetto, type of gang culture, state of mind, and destructive way of life. That is what you need to do. And these are things that people like Marshall Walker have been trying to tell you to do for a very long time now. Now, she looks at it from one perspective alone. I look at it from both perspectives. You need to fight crime as well, but do it in a legal way, a legitimate way, Prime Minister. Not by imposing an SOE, which you cannot use that to fight crime. Even Lawrence Maraj said that recently, that I believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong. He said that you're not supposed to be using an SOE for those kind of reasons. I've said it over and over again. An SOE only supposed to be used in a case of an actual emergency. Like if there's a flood or if there's an insurrection, if there's rioting throughout a country, then you impose a SOE temporarily to get things back under control. And as soon as everything has been normalized and peace has been restored, you remove, you lift that, or you end that SOE. My goodness. It is sad, it is sad to see the party that I voted for my entire life going down the wrong path in one way because of bad influence. People like Roger Alexander encouraging the Prime Minister to transform our country into a police state, when we should have been celebrating development like this with the Debe campus and hopefully still reopening of Petrotrin. I don't know if it's going to really happen again. All I'll be hearing about is talk. But there's so much more development taking place under the UNC that is being overshadowed by this type of autocratic style of governance. And a Prime Minister that has gone from showing compassion to the people to being this dictator-like role, only buffing people and accusing people of causing confusion and agitators and all kind of things like that. Wake up from whatever spell you are under, whether it's a Roger Alexander spell or what. I don't know what kind of spell you're under, Kamala. Get back on track and start to govern the nation the way you used to in the past. You had your bad tendencies since 2011, because you tried that same limited SOE back then, and it didn't work, and you saw how people ended up suing the state. Now you think because it has new legislation put in place that it will prevent it. Most likely it won't, and definitely even if it does, and the Privy Council says, yes, the government now has the authority because of these new laws to be able to infringe upon the rights of citizens and impose a SOE for the next 4 years. Even if you do, you're going to lose the elections in 2030. Would it be worth it? No, it's not going to be worth it. And that's the sad thing about it. I'm really truly hoping that no matter what law has been legislated in recent years, I hope the Privy Council, the lords will come out and say, no, that law itself is unconstitutional. We need our democratic rights to be restored, rights to privacy within our homes, rights to protest anywhere we want peacefully, and also rights to be released from prison, right? From being detained by police if there's insufficient evidence to charge us with a crime. Those are our constitutional democratic rights. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar, Tyrant Kamala, as I call her these days.
Weather report for Trinidad and Tobago on Thursday, July 16, 2026. On Thursday, July 16, 2026, the weather in Trinidad and Tobago will be mostly fair, hazy and breezy with a high temperature of 31 degrees Celsius and a low of 26 degrees Celsius. According to the official forecast from the Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service, Saharan dust will bring hazy conditions, though a few isolated showers may pass during partly cloudy periods. Winds will blow from the east to southeast at 15 to 35 km per hour with occasional stronger gusts. Sea conditions will remain moderate, featuring open water waves between 1.5 to 2.0 meters, while spring tides are currently in effect.
Regional news now. Education Minister Senator Dr. Dana Morris Dixon says funding for Jamaica's public schools has been increased by an average of 55% as the government moves to give school administrators greater flexibility in managing the operations. Good news. Speaking at a post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House on Wednesday, Morris Dixon said all public schools will benefit from the increase, with primary and special education institutions getting more than those at the top of the ladder. While she did not disclose the monetary value of the increase, the minister said additional funding has already begun reaching schools. She said 30% of the operational grant was disbursed in June, with a further 15% to be released in September and 20% in December. Under the framework, no more than 25% of the allocation can be used for administration, 20% for repairs and maintenance, 10% for student welfare, 30% for teaching and learning, and 15% for STEAM, science, technology, engineering, the arts and mathematics, and technical and vocational education. She said the increased funding followed consultations with the school administrators and represents a simplification of the ministry's funding model. Morris Dixon explained that schools will have greater discretion in how the funds are spent, subject to expenditure guidelines, because of course we need to maintain accountability and transparency when it pertains to how taxpayers' dollars are being spent. International news now. The Treasury Department has unveiled a new $1 gold coin featuring President Trump's image to commemorate America's 250th anniversary. So they're going from the bill. I can't remember which kind of bill. I think it was a $50 bill. No, I think it was a $250 bill. Correct me if I'm wrong. So what a gold coin. I wonder if they ended up doing the $250 bill too. Those from in America who watch me, look at my videos, comment and let me know. Did they do the $250 bill? Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the coin honors the enduring legacy of liberty and serves as a lasting symbol of patriotism. Well, you know, Trump loves himself, so he will love this. Featuring President Trump, it celebrates the strength of American values and the promise of a nation dedicated to preserving freedom for all, Bessent wrote. Yeah. The thing about it is, traditionally, from what I've heard, usually you don't put a president's image, on any money until they have gone on to the to eternity. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, Trump has done a lot of good for America. He's messing up in the Middle East by failing to finish the job with Iran and always trying to make deals with the Iranian terrorists. We are watching and waiting and seeing what he's doing this time around. He's still talking crap about talks are still ongoing. So it's only a matter of time before we end up hearing a ceasefire again. If it doesn't happen, that will be good. That will be really good. Trump, if you can finish the job this time, that will be really wonderful. Israel and Colombia have agreed to fully restore diplomatic and economic relations following the inauguration of Colombia's president-elect Abelardo de la Esperanza on August 7th, marking a significant shift in ties after more than a year of strained relations, because most likely the former president of Colombia would have been a radical leftist or maybe a far-right QAnon president. Most likely, I believe it was a radical leftist, though. The agreement was reached during a meeting in Washington between Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar and Colombia's Foreign Minister designate Omar Bula Escobar. The two officials outlined plans to normalize bilateral relations immediately after the new Colombian administration takes office. As part of the agreement, both countries will promptly appoint new ambassadors and resume full diplomatic engagement. The move is intended to re-establish long-standing cooperation between Israel and Colombia, which had been disrupted under the outgoing Colombian government. A key outcome of the discussions was Colombia's stated intention to open an embassy in Jerusalem, the capital, the eternal capital of Israel. According to Israeli officials, Bula Escobar informed Saar that the incoming administration plans to establish the diplomatic mission in Israel's capital. Saar pledged the Israeli Foreign Ministry's full support to facilitate the process.
Bible quote of the day. Psalm 34, 1-3. A call to continual praise and deliverance from fear. I will bless the Lord at all times, his praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make its boast in the Lord, the humble shall hear of it and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news, headline news. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe, most of all, in Jesus' name.